Before we begin, I want to take a moment to honor the emotional safety of everyone listening. Radiant Resilience often explores real stories of struggle, healing, and the human experience. Because of that, episodes may include sensitive or triggering topics. Specific topics for each episode are listed in the episode description, so please check there to determine if this conversation feels right for you today. This podcast is meant to offer connection, understanding, and shared humanity, but it is not a substitute for professional advice or support. If you find yourself needing help, please reach out to qualified professionals or trusted resources in your life. Your mental and emotional well-being matters deeply here. Thank you for your courage, your openness, and for joining me in this space of compassion and resilience. Welcome back, everybody, to Radiant Resilience. I'm very excited for this conversation today, and I'm just going to start off by apologizing because I'm getting over a cold at the time of this recording, and my voice does not sound like normal, but we're going to power through anyways. I have with me today Clara Schroeder. Clara is an ecotherapist, outdoor guide, and author whose life took a profound turn after surviving a traumatic brain injury at 26. Her healing journey through nature, psychology, and spirituality grew into a mission to help others find strength in adversity and reconnect with the earth for personal and planetary well-being. I'm really excited for this conversation, Clara. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Tawny.
So I'm going to let you start with your story of your brain injury, what happened, and then we'll go into your healing journey. But I'll let you start wherever you feel like starting in your story, wherever you feel like is a good starting point for everything. Yeah, go ahead.
Quite a journey, as I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to. Yeah, so as far as the big injury, I will say I've been an equestrian athlete most of my life. So I rode horses growing up, I competed, which led to a few concussions from that. So I was familiar with before my accident. And then one day I was going to work and I was rear-ended in a car crash at a red light. So my car was totaled and my life was turned upside down quite literally because I came out of it with what's called a mild traumatic brain injury, MTBI or TBI. So like a very advanced acute form of concussion. And I really didn't know the severity of it at the time. I think that's quite common with car accidents, having talked to other people since. And I did the normal thing. I went to urgent care, got checked out, I mean, to file a police report. And they were like, oh, yeah, take some. You probably have a whiplash injury on your neck, which I did, and maybe a mild concussion. And they thought at the time. And I just recovered a year before from a different concussion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then a year before that as well. So
Oh,
from
so they were pretty back to back.
they were back to back. Yep.
Yeah.
And so this made it way worse. And yeah, from there, they were like, oh, you'll be up and running in 5 days. I remember having a very important workshop for a nonprofit that week, at the end of the week. And I was like, I hope I can, do you think I'll be able to work? And they're like, yeah, probably, I'll just rest. And then it took physically the healing for the brain injury took all year, the rest of the year, like 9 to 12 months. Emotionally, I'm still recovering. Physically, the whiplash injuries still healing. Yeah, from there, like my life just was over. I could barely walk. I could barely, and the symptoms came on stronger and stronger as the days went on. And I saw every specialist. I tried all the holistic, I'm all about holistic healing, but I tried all the holistic healing methods, and like the percentage of recovery or improvement was so low compared to I did hyperbaric oxygen therapy. I did like craniosacral. I still do this IV glutathione, like high dose glutathione, which is a strong antioxidant for the brain cells. So it took me a long time to find, and like basically every specialist was like, don't really know. Hopefully you recover. I
Oh,
couldn't go
man.
outside. I couldn't walk. I couldn't like, let alone drive or do normal things. Very intense. A lot of depression and And then eventually I got referred to someone knew someone who'd been through something horrific similarly. And she was like, you need to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania and see this one doctor. And I did. And that turned it around in 90 days. He healed me. Like it was a
Wow.
super intense brain rehab.
So
Uh,
let me just clarify, when
yeah,
you got
yeah, yeah,
rear-ended,
yeah,
obviously like the whiplash makes sense, but did you hit your head
yeah.
on like the steering wheel,
I
or
hit
what
my
was it?
head
The seat?
against the seat. Yeah,
Okay. So it was the
yeah,
whiplash, and then you hit your head against the seat hard enough
yeah,
to cause a brain injury. That's wild.
yeah.
So you were hit really hard.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that I was stopped at the red light and she was stopped at the red light before this happened, and she thought the light turned green and absolutely gassed the gas pedal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like my car, she was at a standstill and totaled my car.
That's wild.
It's like this does not happen. This isn't normal. So,
Yeah, you think that if you're in traffic or you're at a standstill or whatever, like when I was quite younger, I was driving, I'm a hairstylist, so I was driving to beauty school on
okay.
the way, but I was in like stopped traffic
Yeah.
basically. And I was being dumb and I was like putting on mascara while I was in this traffic and my foot lifted up from the
Mhm.
gas, or I'm sorry, from the
On the
brake,
break.
but I just rolled into the guy in front of me. So I think of like when you're stopped or when you're
Yeah.
in traffic, like that kind of a thing happening. But did this woman just not even look and plow into her gas pedal?
She literally got out of her car and said, maybe I shouldn't be driving anymore. And I'm a
Oh, was
very
she
empathetic
old?
person. Yeah.
Mm.
And I was like, this is where my empathy runs out right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So then that triggered, obviously, you said you had the two concussions prior to
Mhm.
that pretty quickly. And then this, were you thrown off of horses? Is that what happened with your other?
Yeah. One of them, I did something called mounted archery. So literally
Oh,
shooting bow and arrow or arrows from my bow off the top of my horse.
that's
And
amazing.
it was
That's so
really
badass.
cool. And then one day my horse spooked at a bird and turned the other way, and I was like, I don't have anything to hold on to right now, and
Oh
I came flying
no.
off. Yeah. So I love mounted archery, but that and yeah, the other one was like a small one. And
Okay. And what I know about concussions is that like each one is
built up.
more damaging, right, to the brain. So
Correct.
then you have this huge traumatic brain injury.
Yeah.
I actually have a client who's going through this right now, so it's super
Okay.
interesting. So I'm going to have a lot of questions for you, but
Yeah,
like
go for it.
one of the things she said is that the brain injuries are not, people don't understand them because you can't see them. And you are going through all of these things of not being able to drive, not being able to live a normal life, probably not even look at computer screens, phones, TVs. Like, how awful. And you said it was a year before you went to that Pennsylvania doctor?
I think before I saw him, it was 6 months.
Okay. And
Um,
what were people trying to do for you before that? What were some of the other doctors doing that was just, you said you were doing some of the holistic stuff.
yeah,
Were they just like trying things and then being like, sorry?
the overall narrative for concussion, which is not necessarily accurate, is rest. Dark room, exactly like you said, you shut yourself in a dark room because light is a stimulus. You need to let your brain rest. Come to find out, and I'm not a medical doctor, right? I'm just sharing my experience. This Dr. Michael Collins, who I saw in Pennsylvania, was like, you need to rest for 24 to 48 hours after impact. After that, you have to start living normally again because it's all about pushing past the discomfort to rewire your brain, which is what I
Mm.
did through the rehab. But before that, yeah, they were like, just try to move more or like exercise and have conversations or, but there was no specific guidance. And a lot of it in the beginning was just rest. So the only thing I could do was lay down because I could barely stand up at that point, lay down in a dark room listening to audiobooks because that's the only kind of stimulus I could take.
Because you can't read,
I
right?
can't read, can't
Yeah.
look at my phone. I could take phone calls with a friend, but I was pretty exhausted from that after an hour.
And what did you do for work at the time?
So I was that's I was an entrepreneur. I have been an entrepreneur for a couple of years, and let's just say that I think it was officially the second year in business, and
Mm.
it's really hard to launch a business.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I would have done had I not had my parents' support, because the medical bills, there's a lawsuit, of course, involved in all this at the end of it, because like it was insane how much
Yeah.
medical attention I needed. And I just needed a place to be like safe at home then.
Mm.
And I'm sure we'll get into it then. The PTSD kicked in and all of this other stuff that was just really hard to manage on my own. And
Well,
then
and you can't even drive yourself
no,
anywhere.
no. Yeah,
So,
exactly. Like some of the appointments were far away because they were specialists.
yeah.
And then the first time I went to Pennsylvania, my dad came with me because again, I couldn't really,
Yeah.
yeah,
Was flying.
really difficult.
Yeah.
Because so I would be in an airport with sunglasses and like noise canceling headsets
Wow.
because yeah, like just having people walk by me on both directions was too much for the brain at the time.
Mm.
And then the lights, of course, the artificial lights of the airport.
So in that time frame, did you feel like anything helped get it better in that 6 months?
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So this is something for people who don't know. I didn't really know at the time either. A diver would like divers who have a diving issue or like, come up too quickly or whatever to the surface go into these like compression chambers. That's what it is. So I did a small version of that, not the military grade ones, and it's supposed to help like all kinds of ailments. And so I did 17 sessions. So you're like in a little tube and it like pressurizes, and then you're stuck in there for an hour and a half, and then it depressurizes.
Wow.
And I have to say, after doing 3 to 4 sessions in a row, like day every day, I would feel a little bit better. I had a little bit more energy, but that's it.
Okay.
IV glutathione was good. Basically, I felt like constant pressure on my head. And so the glutathione, which is a type of, I don't really know what it is, but it's a strong antioxidant.
Mhm.
And it would like just create a little bit of space in my brain. But
Yeah.
I was very far from functional.
Yeah. So you go
And
see this specialist then in Pennsylvania, and what did he do to help you then that really made a difference?
so it's at the University of Pittsburgh, and he has like a team. Like you see multiple people. He's clearly the concussion specialist, and then you see an ocular person. So like the eye, because all of this, I had a
Mhm.
vestibular concussion, which means that I was connected to my eyes, which is why I couldn't drive. I couldn't have people walk past me. He had a PT on board. So they do a full evaluation, and his whole thing is that you have to push past the discomfort. He's like, if you by then I'd spent 6, 7 months just doing very minimal anything, like not living my life. And you need to every day, he set a target. You need to do 25 minutes, 5 days a week, 25 minutes of exercise. And he told me what to do, like for even for the whiplash, the brain. You need to go in a social environment. So like restaurants, coffee shops, grocery shopping, and then once you hit the threshold of a 9 out of 10 discomfort, walk out, take a break, go back.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I had all these like exercises to do, like looking at my finger, moving my head up and down. By the end of it, I was like throwing a ball, spinning on myself, catching the ball. And this would make me like really dizzy.
Yeah.
So that was the first part of the protocol. So I went home and I think I did it for 6 weeks the first time. Then I flew back, got reevaluated, wasn't quite there. Then they upped the intensity. I went to a Ed Sheeran concert, like weekend 2 of the protocol. Like it was that intense. I was exhausted. And I got COVID also in the middle of it.
Oh, no.
My body was like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
That,
Oh,
yeah, my life.
what's that?
It saved my life.
Yeah. Yeah. You went from not being able to do anything and live a normal life. You couldn't even like really work
No,
to, I don't know. I think we also do not understand the freedom that driving gives us.
yeah.
Like to not be able to drive yourself to places. I guess it depends on where in the US you live, but we do
I'm in
not have very good public transportation.
for sure.
Especially out west here. Like it's
Yeah.
East Coast, the big cities, you've got stuff, but like we are a driving culture. And so if you can't drive yourself, that takes away so much freedom. So talk about talk a little bit about the depression and the emotions that were going through you in those first 6 months of
Yeah.
healing.
One thing that I will say is that concussions or any kind of brain injury is an invisible disability. So that in itself creates so much isolation because people assume things about you that are just purely not true
Mm.
because they can't see the problem. So it was really hard, even when I did try to like push myself to do something a bit more social or a bit more involved and just feel awful and then not really feel like people would understand.
Yeah.
So the depression came mostly because I felt like my life was over. So I'd been a pretty intense athlete my whole life. So I was a competitive equestrian. When I retired from that, I was a rock climber. I started surfing. Like I live in California, so all the things. And I didn't think I would ever go back to that.
Mm.
Of course, being a very like body-based person, a lot of my like fulfillment comes from being able to move. So yeah, just being stuck at home without really any outlets, without really being able to see friends for a long
Mm.
time.
Because going out was overstimulating, right?
Correct. Even just going
Mhm.
for a walk, like the sun was a problem for
Oh,
me.
wow.
When I was staying at my parents, we have horses, obviously, as I've been mentioning, and so going to like the barn on the same property to go see the horses was a struggle, like a
Mm.
couple yards away. So that was really like just, and then being told that they don't know when I'm going to recover. So at some point, I had to switch something in myself, which is where the resilience came in, is because I just refused to accept the status quo, what I call the status quo. Like I refused to accept there was no solution, that I wouldn't heal, that they don't really know. Maybe one day I'll feel better. I went into the depression, and then at some point something switched, and I'm so grateful it did because I was like, no,
I
I
mean,
won't.
how do they expect somebody to live their life like that? Because truly, like you were doing, like you said, you the extent of your activity was a dark room listening to audiobooks. That's how you're supposed to live your life. I realize there are some medical issues and injuries and things like that are not as fixable, but I feel like something like this is also so damaging to your everyday life that I can't believe that they are just willing to be like, sorry, just try to adjust to this new life of yours.
Yeah.
Hi, friend, and welcome to this episode of Radiant Resilience. We are always looking for new guests on the podcast. I want to highlight you if you have a story of resilience that inspires others. Everyone has a story, and I believe that sharing yours can help others feel less alone. Are you ready to share your journey and inspire others? I want to hear from you. Every story has the power to impact lives and foster a supportive community. If you have a tale of overcoming adversity, personal growth, or a unique perspective on life's challenges, I would love to have you as a guest on the podcast. To become a guest, please email us directly at radiantresiliencepodcast@gmail.com or click the link in the show notes to become a guest. Join us in spreading hope, strength, and inspiration one story at a time. Be brave and share your story so others feel less alone. I hope to see you soon.
Isn't that wild? I think the medical system was quite broken and that they need a little bit more psychology training, if I'm honest, on, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I went through infertility for 10 years and that was the same thing. It was the like, there was not very much empathy.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry to hear that, but it's like that is I've heard that from so many people, especially as women too, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we think that our medical world and science has come so far, which I think it definitely has.
Yeah.
But like, I always think, oh, we've got the answers to almost everything. We can cure almost everything. And then like I have a relative whose partner went through cancer and she said the same thing. She was like, I thought that like cancer was relatively easy to treat. And then she was like, you go into these doctors and you talk to all the professionals and you're like, wait, what? You don't know, you don't have an answer, this is all just let's try this and see if it
Yeah.
works.
No, it's crazy, unfortunately.
So what kind of things were people like assuming and think like you said that everybody was because it's not a scene injury.
Yeah.
What were some of the things people were saying and doing that you were like, no, were they thinking you were making it up or
It's a good question. I think not, I think people just can't relate, which
Mm.
again, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, like at all. But I felt very alienated and misunderstood because people like, oh yeah, it's a concussion or it's a traumatic brain injury, but Clara's fine. Like she's still, I can still talk to her, or I would get invited to things and have to constantly turn it down because I'm
Mm.
like, I can't, that's just too much. I remember a friend of mine, I can't remember what at which point of the protocol this was. Probably I had just started or just before going to Pittsburgh. We tried to eat out at a restaurant and it was so loud. And so that we like asked the waitress, because this was me like trying really hard to be normal. And granted, it was one of my best friends, so she was pretty good. But we like asked the waitress if we could move to a quieter spot. And she looked at me super weird. And I was like, I have a brain injury. I felt like I had to explain myself.
Mm.
And then we moved to a different table and it wasn't any better. And I think then the band started like showed up and we're like, no, we have to leave. I'm so sorry. And there was just like no willingness because people just, it's pretty rare, thankfully. And just like the looks that I would get if I had to be like, I need to step out. I'm sorry. It happened at least one more time when I sat down in a restaurant. I was like, I can't, we have to get takeout. And yeah, the looks that I would get, like people at that point for sure thought I was making it up. Or that I
Mm.
was just like that annoying customer. And I'm like, I'm not trying to make your life more difficult or pay less money. It's just, I can't. Like, I'm going to throw up right now because it's so
Mm. So you would feel like physically
not.
ill.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then everything would spin around me
Ooh.
because it was vestibular. Yeah.
So like you were like super drunk.
Yeah, I guess. I've never had that feeling, but yeah, but a lot of other spinning.
Oh man. Okay, so you work with this guy in Pittsburgh and you start coming out of it. And so he's doing all these things with you, but then you mentioned doing a little bit more therapy. Did you like horse therapy and stuff like that too?
I had to look for a trauma therapist. So I'd
Okay.
had therapy for a while at that point, and I actually didn't know. I don't know when I realized that I was living with PTSD. So
Oh.
the accident created PTSD. I'd had complex trauma in my life previously, but then I didn't know. And PTSD is a whole other kind of animal. So once I got the diagnosis and I was told that these like life-threatening thoughts of being hurt because it came from behind me, right? I didn't see it coming. I had these like worst case thinking scenarios, thoughts daily of like
Mm.
anywhere I went, something would happen. My nervous system was on hyper arousal for, I don't know, almost a year.
Wow.
And so then, yeah, my therapist was like, I think you need a somatic practitioner, like someone who does somatic experiencing, who treats trauma. Eventually, I found a very alternative kind of holistic medication for PTSD called low-dose naltrexone, and that really has changed my life on top of the therapy. But it is still like, and this is years later, this was 2.5 years ago.
The accident was?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm still, my neck still is recovering. I'm much better, but I'm still in PT for that. Every now and then, like I will get some, if I'm on my screen super, super focused for too long, I might feel a little bit. And then, yeah, the PTSD is something that I live with today that I'm
Mm.
like healing from.
Oh man. And you said that was like because you were hit from behind, you just
Yeah.
feel like something's coming at you from
Yeah.
behind all the time.
Yeah, from anywhere. It was like, like the world didn't feel safe. And honestly, my body didn't feel safe because during that, I feel like it took me a year and a half to heal emotionally and
Mm.
heal as a big stretch. But it took me a year and a half to go back to my business and my work and start
Wow.
to rebuild. Yeah, the rebuilding was wild. Like I didn't know I'd lost so much. Right before it happened, I was ramping up my business.
Yeah.
And so just that was really brutal. And I'm really grateful for a few like friends and business partners who just came in and invited me back into things. Because it's really hard to show back up in the workforce a year and a half later, having gone through something so traumatic.
Yeah. You're
And
a
so,
different person.
yeah, oh yeah, no, I for sure. I felt like with Dr. Collins, honestly, I felt like he was giving me a second chance at life.
Mm.
That's how I perceived it, and that's why I moved into all the things that I've done since.
Yeah. Talk about that now. What are we doing? Tell me what ecotherapy is. Maybe let's start with that.
Yes. Ecotherapy is this idea that nature is like a healing container. So I go through the coaching lens because I work with non-clinical populations. I have a degree in psychology and I coaching certifications and ecotherapy certifications. So it's really like I host nature-based retreats for women and women leaders. I do one-on-one sessions, remote or in person on a trail, and basically I'm just it's like self-development or coaching, and then I'm bringing in nature as a guide for the person, or like I'm attuning them to nature around them. And it's really profound. It's so much, it goes so much deeper than like just an indoor office or a virtual room when you bring in that extra layer.
Yeah, I know the like forest bathing was becoming very fa popular lately. So is it similar to that then?
Similar. Yeah. So forest bathing, it's very like specific in what they do and how they lead it. Ecotherapy, we go a little bit deeper. Like it's much more like it is more, I don't know, more targeted. Like it's for a purpose, like there's a self-development goal or a healing goal. And we have a bit more freedom in what we can do and not do. Because forest bathing is from the Japanese tradition. It's like a medical practice in the first place. And so they're like very ritualized in that part of the world. Whereas ecotherapy, the way that I learned it, it has more of a spiritual component too. Of nature is like a guide for me right now, or like
Mm.
I'm receiving messages and I'm just like pointing out, as you're talking about this hawk flew overhead, how does that
Mm.
make you feel? Like, how are you relating with the natural environment around you, or all the things like dead leaves on the ground, or someone talking about their deceased relative and the sun shines through right at that moment. Like, you create meaning out of things that would otherwise be missed or be mundane or like things like that.
So like if somebody works with you, then it's more like obviously in person, one-on-one, and you go through for a walk, or do you sit in the park and then you just
Either.
let them talk and you pay attention to what's going on around at the same time?
That's a simplified version, but yes.
Okay.
I have done remote sessions because you can do a lot if someone has. I had a client who had, what's the word, like a disability or wasn't fully able to walk. And she had a garden. And so we do meditations with the garden and the birds that she could see. And I just like guide her. She had a terrarium because she's on the East Coast, so they get really bad winters. And it just brings more curiosity and awe, and it calms the anxiety. And so you can definitely do it remote, and then in person, yeah, we can do, depends on what the client like. I target the location based on comfort levels, accessibility. Like sometimes it'll be on the trail, no service, etc. And there's all kinds of certifications that come with that, like wilderness first responder that I have to be like trained in because if something happens and you're away, like that's part of it. Or yeah, if it's a city park, if that's the level of comfort. And yeah, I usually start with it's very ritualized as well. There's like a threshold, and you enter into it with nature, and like then you're just in this container, and I'm asking questions, and they're reflecting and mirroring nature, and yeah, it usually lasts about 90 minutes for one-on-one on
Oh,
the
wow.
trail.
And you were doing this for yourself, or you discovered this like for yourself first and then started doing it for others?
Yeah, in a way, I was always really passionate about nature and
Yeah.
kind of the potential of nature connection. That's why I wrote a book about it for environmental stewardship or sustainability, and reminding people that we belong to something greater than ourselves, including just like the earth and nature and that separation. I came out of wildlife conservation in my undergrad, looking at that disconnect between people and the earth. And that's
Mm.
why I went psychology afterwards in ecotherapy.
Oh, that's really cool to connect the two together. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. Are you still doing horse stuff then?
I That's taken a lot of healing. I
Yeah.
don't ride.
And that's a huge loss for you, right? Yeah.
I'm just starting to think about it, but like I'll never go back. A lot of things in my life, to be honest with you, Tawny, like I love to ski, I love to surf, I love to ride horses. The risk
Mm,
there for anything head related. When I say I have PTSD, like it's stabilized, but I can't take risks the way like I was the person who did headstands on horses before. Like I
yeah.
was like in my 20s, just like wild and free and loving the earth, etc. And I feel like I'm a much more calm person, and I will not go back out to the level of activity that I work out, and I'm grateful for that. And there's a lot of gratitude and acceptance for that my life has changed significantly. But the risk factor will always limit me a little bit because I want to avoid any other impact.
Because what would happen, do you know, if you hit your head again?
I think the recovery would be very difficult.
Yeah.
And I
Are there
think
people, there have to be people out there with multiple football players alone, like what,
all of the
with
top athletes,
multiple traumatic brain injury incidences.
and yes, and then you look at long-term effects of that, which are maniac episodes, like full anger outbursts. That's one of them. Dementia is one of them. You don't want to mess around. And that's why I can think of a dear friend right now who, bless his heart, has had a lot of concussions, never really did anything about them, and is still
Mm.
pushing really hard physically. And I'm always like, you need to rein it in. Like, you need to take care of your body. You need to take some supplements and stuff to help your brain and minimize risk, because I know what can happen. Yeah, I mean, there's been movies about certain football players like committing suicide, and
Yeah, I watched that concussion with Will Smith, and that was like wildly eye-opening because I think we think if you haven't experienced a concussion, because I have not, that I'm
okay,
aware of,
yeah,
I don't know, you don't really understand what that entails. And
no,
so then to see that in that movie and the long-term effects of that, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like they're not even the same person.
no. I haven't seen it because I think it would be a little too triggering for me.
Yes.
But yeah, I will say for sure I'm not the person that I once was. But because I'm in coaching and because I'm spiritual, like I don't have regret in my life.
Yeah.
Like, moving out of this. So I think, let's see, a year plus after, maybe 14, 15 months after the actual accident, I applied to publish a book. And I always thought that I would write a book. I never thought it'd be before I turned 30, because it went back to this thing of having been given a second chance, and really the ecotherapy and the impact that I would just thought about. Okay, I have this huge gift, this blessing, this miracle recovery is what I would almost call it, because from how I felt before. And I felt like I'm here to have a purpose and impact on like the planet and the people and that reconnection piece. And yeah, I like it just was like synchronistic. Different events led to me applying to this publisher, getting in, and then writing a book over the span of 15 months. And it came
Mm.
out in October 2025. All about their pieces of it are related to resilience and finding hope, and like I'm really into the psychology of trauma and how to go from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. And that's one piece of it. And I'm relating it to climate and how that's affecting our world today and people's mental health. And I really
Mm.
felt like I was responding to the ecological and mental health crisis that we face. But
Wow.
I definitely wouldn't have written it in that period of my life had I not gone through something that crazy.
Yeah, for sure. Can I ask you about there had to have been some anger
Mhm.
towards the woman that hit you for a very long time.
Uh,
Have you been able to forgive her? And also, how did you get to that point if you did?
yes. So the background there is that I'm I have some training in Buddhism. It's definitely part of my philosophy. Buddhism has this strong thing about compassion. It's like a pillar of Buddhism. And yeah, for sure. I will say that there's been a lawsuit,
Sure.
and that helped in terms of feeling like there was again, it's really hard to put numbers on something like that, but
Your life was completely flipped upside down. No amount of money is going to
no,
fix that for you.
no, exactly. Like, I'm
Mm.
not the person that I once, and I would never will be. I definitely live with that anger and the resentment,
Do you feel
especially.
like you're still trying to work through that?
I'm definitely better. I think that I don't think of her, and when I think of her, it doesn't trigger anything too much anymore. But yeah, it's hard to really I don't think there's peace quite yet.
Because this was completely out of your control. It wasn't anything you were doing. You were hit and then it just rocked your world and she maybe just went on her life just like normal. I don't know if she had any injuries, but
Nothing.
I would be angry about that for quite a while.
Yeah.
That would be something that I would have to really work hard through, I think. So I think it's totally okay if you're still working through that
Yeah.
because completely understandable, right?
Yeah, those are some just surreal. When I think about what she said when she came out of the car and like how it
Mm.
all happened, I'm like, it's just wild.
Yeah. And then what about the grief of your life being different from now on? Like you've talked about the activities and stuff that you can't do anymore and stuff like that. And you had to have gone through a grieving process of your life is not going to be what you thought it was going to be. And that's always so hard to accept.
Yeah, totally. And it's almost more like the limiting factors that come with that. I'm like grieving the carelessness, and I was still like smart about risk management, but my brother mountaineers, I've climbed mountains and stuff. I like pushing myself and my body in conjunction with nature, catching big waves out in the ocean. There's like a freedom of flow there. There's like a yeah, it's a very, I think most athletes can, or someone who has a passion, even if you're a musician, you find flow in your music or whatever your thing is. For me, it's always been just like physical expression and just I feel like very grateful for the people who watched me and know how much horses mean to me and have been so patient, like trainers and even my own family who's like all horseback riders to not push me through that
Mm,
process of she's healing, she's grieving, she doesn't really know who she is now. She doesn't have the same relationship with horses she once did because of the danger, quote unquote, and the risk. And then yeah, and then it goes back to the rebuilding question. Like that lasted a long time. That lasted at least 2 years.
mm,
I feel like over the last 6 to 12 months, I've been able to just go, okay, what's possible today? How much fear is in my head?
mm,
How much of it is legitimate? How much of it is not true? That's the PTSD.
mm.
And then navigating from there what's true and what isn't, and how do I be in the world as this new Clara, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so hard, but not in a bad way. Not that the new Clara is bad.
No, yeah, she's just different. But
Mhm.
like now, I feel like just even being able to share the story is huge. Like getting to a place of integration enough where I'm like, you're going through a concussion? Okay, here's what I would do if I were you. Here's the contact of this person. Here's what worked for me and what didn't work for me. Like, or like you are going through a hard time period. Like resilience is your best friend. This is how you build it. I just like really dove in because I like science, I like research, and I just learned a ton because I wanted to understand what was going on in my own brain, in my own body. And then therefore I feel like I can give back in a different way than I ever could before.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you done much with like concussion advocacy and things like that?
A little bit. So the clinic that I went to did a full like seminar that same year or like a few months later. And so they were presenting all the top level research, which they're like very kind of niche in the concussion treatment sector because a lot of other people just tell you to go sit in a dark room and not do anything. And that did definitely did not work for me and didn't work for many people. And so I like to I have actually referred a few really struggling people to the clinic, and I know for sure they've recovered, which just warms my heart. Like
Yeah.
the chapter in the book about Dr. Michael Collins, I really want to inspire people to trust that when you feel like your life is over, like you will find strength again and you will find and rebuild pieces of yourself, even if it's not the same version of yourself.
Mm, yeah.
When I run short races, like a 5K or something, I'll put TBI survivor on my cheeks. Like I'm very, because people like, and I love the cancer awareness and cancer survivor awareness, but again, concussion or TBI doesn't get talked about. And I
Yeah.
know so many people who live with it still. I mean, last week I was talking to a girl who's still recovering, and there's a deeper understanding there, and there's so much empathy coming from me to them, and I feel like
Yeah.
that in itself can be so healing. So yeah,
Yeah.
people do anything for someone going through that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like when you are going through something like that and you feel like nobody understands in the world. And obviously, intellectually, there are other people that have gone through this, but if you're not actively speaking to these
Yes.
people, you feel so lonely. So finding that community, I think, is always so important for healing.
Actually, definitely. I interviewed for a position at a brain injury center.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this was like a year after the accident. And yeah, I didn't take it for multiple reasons, but I was a good candidate because I could relate and understand what people were going through.
Yeah, going back to the doctor world too, like a lot of these doctors don't have a lot of empathy because they haven't actually been through it. Like when I was going to my fertility clinics and stuff, like a lot of the nurses and the MAs and things like that they all had kids and they'd never been through infertility and they would talk about their kids and they would, yeah. And I'm like,
See.
if you're going to work in this field, can you have a little bit more of a filter or something?
Sure,
Like,
for sure. No, that's real.
yeah, I've told this story before on here, but I had my last embryo transfer that failed. They had the MA call me to tell me my test was negative. Not a nurse, not a doctor, the MA. And then she was like, "So, do you want to go into another cycle?" And I was like, "You just rocked my world with your news, and I have no more embryos left. I would have to start from scratch. I would have to, like, I was so mad and I snapped back at her, and I feel a little bad nowadays, but I was like, what?
Yeah.
Really? Like, how about maybe a little bit more empathy and like maybe let us know if you want to do
Yeah.
moving forward, but we're here for you. Like,
Unbelievable. Like zero people skills, right?
yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
don't go into a caring practice or job of any kind. Like, where's the care? Where's the empathy? Where's the compassion? Like,
But I do think it's really hard for us as humans to, and this is something I'm learning through my
oh,
journey and my healing, to understand exactly and have that empathy and compassion when you haven't gone through that
yeah,
thing. Like you can have some, but I do think that there's a different level when you've
sure.
experienced it for
I
sure.
I agree. And I think that doesn't like, if someone shares something with me that I can't relate to, I will still like just like hold that space for them. And maybe that's just because like I teach mindfulness and I am a meditation teacher and like I'm basically a therapist. Like, but it just you just like as funny because I struggle with this with my partner sometimes. He's great, he's an engineer, like very rational brain. But sometimes I'm like, no, I don't want solutions. Just listen to me,
Yes.
calm your nervous system, regulate with mine, and just listen, hold that space. Doesn't matter if you have no idea what I'm talking about because I'm going off on a tangent. And
Yeah.
he's learning, like I love him. But and I think maybe I would expect some women to be better at it. I don't know. There's a
Mm.
bit more, I don't know.
Like the nurturing in women.
Maybe, yeah. And I do know that like growing up with animals really helped that because you have to care for something other than yourself. And like I know I hate seeing anyone suffer because I'm an empath. And but yeah, that's crazy what you're
But I
sharing.
do think it's really hard. Like, even if you, like, until you've gone through something, because I look at like past Tawny also, pre-infertility Tawny and post-infertility Tawny. And it is like we are two different people. And I have learned through that process the compassion and the empathy. And I think that is why I can hold that space a little bit better for people now, too.
Yeah, no, that's fair for sure.
So I
Um,
think you do sometimes I think you maybe have to go through we have to go through some hard shit in order to have more of that compassion.
I agree. I would fully agree with that statement. I think that depth sometimes just gets developed because you are going through hardship because
Mhm.
you learn to access parts of yourself that you didn't know were there. And then you develop that version of yourself again or a new version, right?
Yeah, and all the conversations I've had on this podcast, I think almost everybody would say that, like you said, you didn't have regret. Like, as much as like this has changed your life in some really tough ways, it's also changed it for good too. And like a lot of people I talk to, there may be aspects that they would change, like they don't want
Oh,
this person dying or whatever. But overall, everybody's, this is why I am who I am today.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't change it.
for sure. Yeah. And that's why I love the name of the podcast, right? That's the resilience piece for me.
Mm.
That is just so beautiful. And you don't really get to experience it unless like resilience comes because something happened.
Which is good and frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can only be resilient once you've been through this hard stuff, which is also, I want everybody to live their long, happy
Yes.
lives and not have to
For
go
sure.
through hard
For
stuff.
sure. Yeah. But
But it
then
is
you
how we
also need a
grow.
platform. Yeah. And then you're like giving this chance to people who like to just share. And that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah. So if somebody wants to work with you on the ecotherapy and all this stuff, what does that look like? Like you've mentioned before, you do the one-on-ones, you do
Yeah.
some virtual, in-person retreats, but right this moment, what does that look like?
I do I've diminished my coaching practice, but like I will by application
Yeah.
if someone wants to and it's the right fit. I work for an app called Aura Health. So you're familiar with Aura? They're not the Aura Ring, the
Mhm.
Aura wellness app. So it's like meditations. And so I like them because I teach live sessions like at least once a week. I do lunar circles or like meditations, and it's a great community and people like it's by donation, so it's a little bit more accessible. So I just love to like hold that space as we've been talking about. So that's
Mhm.
one like group setting that I offer, the coaching containers, my book, Renature, the people if they want to relate with me. That's the best ways I would think.
Okay. Was your book like therapeutic for you to write then?
Very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. I've heard that from a lot of people who have written books like that. They're like, "Oh, but they had to do it like you said in the right time frame. Like
Yeah.
if you had done it a year before, it like probably would have been really impossible."
For sure. Yeah, because it's not, I thought it would be more of my story, but it's really not. It's like a solution to the, like some of the problems I see in the world for
Okay.
people to find that connection with themselves, find that connection with nature. It's an extension of my work and a
Mhm.
way to broaden the impact because after the TBI, I just became so obsessed with, okay, if like my life was almost just like over, now how can I have more impact? That's what I
Mhm.
care. Well, sometimes I say, and I'm saying this a little bit joking way, but I'm like, I'm building an empire of positive legacy or positive impact because that's the vision. It's so many people are struggling. How can we just feel better?
And I think, yeah, I think nature is very important. And we have now built a society where we like are on screens and stuff in the internet universe all the time now and not going outside as much. They say that kids nowadays, they watch TV or they play on tablets or video games or whatever instead of playing outside like we used to.
Yeah, I think that the statistics on that are crazy, like what the actual numbers are versus what it used to be 50, 60 years ago. And there are movements that are like encouraging kids to go outside more. And I think I stand for that for sure. Having been an outdoor guide and seeing some of that effects.
Were your parents super outdoorsy? You know that I know that you said that they had a ranch and did horses and stuff, but were they into
Yeah.
all the hiking and all the other stuff that you were doing?
I think not like my so I said my brother's mountaineers, like he climbs the tallest peaks and I'm just like this outdoorsy person. Not to that level, not at all.
Mm.
Yeah, we grew up like near forests most of the time and we'd go take the dogs on walks and like free roam the garden and stuff as kids, but my parents, they wouldn't go camping. For example, like if they would go glamping.
Yeah.
But then my brother and I are out there. I think part of it is also the adrenaline, the high that you get from those outdoor pursuits. But I've learned to now go into more like stewardship and like wellness and like it's really changed my relationship with nature a little bit to the TBI.
I was gonna say, do you still try to like, obviously you have to be careful, but is the adrenaline rush still something you're like craving?
It's a really good question. I think that I need to be really honest with myself here.
Oh,
I
sorry.
know. I'm like, well, it's almost here's the true answer. I feel like a little piece is always still missing
Yeah.
because I don't have it. I
Hmm.
can't have it for very valid reasons, health
Yeah.
reasons. So, yes, I crave it. Yes, I miss it. Am I looking for it? No,
Yeah.
because I know.
I wonder if
Because
there's other better ways you could find it.
Yeah, of course. My therapist, who's also like more in the Buddhist realm, is you gotta find it through meditation and
That's
re
not the same.
no, they're like it's like the like inner peace. And I stand by it. Like I really offer that to people, but it's different. It's
Yeah.
the high is different that we're looking for.
Yeah.
We're creating in ourselves. This is just like super real, which I love.
Yeah. I'm really glad that, thank you for going there.
Yeah, I think they're different. And
Yeah.
sometimes if I'm running, the flow state comes pretty quickly.
Okay.
I studied it in school in positive psychology, but I'm not really a runner. I don't really want to run that long to find it.
Oh, and I don't know, when I think of adrenaline, I don't know, running is the,
Yeah, running
like,
doesn't really. Yeah.
but yeah, I just wonder if there's, aside from like jumping out of airplanes, obviously,
Right.
or anything crazy, I wonder if there's something out there that could give you that fix, but that, I don't know, meditation would not do that for me at all.
Yeah, it's not the same high, for sure.
No, yeah. So I don't know, maybe if anybody listening
Yeah.
has any ideas, you can
Yeah.
comment or email us or Facebook, whatever.
That would be fun.
Yeah, if there's, I don't know, I feel like there's got to be something that gets your heart pumping to that level, but is not physically, I don't know, maybe like scary movies. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, I watched a thriller last night and I was like, I cannot do this. I'm so sensitive. I like didn't sleep
Oh no.
or very late.
Maybe that's your thing then. Maybe it's, but maybe don't do it before bed. Do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. You're right.
You said you listen to audiobooks. What kind of books do you usually read then? Do you read thrillers or?
I like the detective stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it
Okay.
was. Yeah. But not the gory ones. I
Yeah.
just like a good mystery novel, or that's what I was listening to during the TBI, and that's what I watch. I have some British family, so I watch like British cop shows and just random, but just like the good personal relationships is the plot, not the murder so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to find that thing for you now, but like,
Ah,
I
that
really
was
feel
a
like I'm
thing.
onto something there with the movie thing because
Yeah.
you definitely, again, it's not the same as being outside and doing those things and pushing your body for sure. But I don't know. No, I'm curious. I feel like there's got to be something out there for you that's safe.
Yeah. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, my dear. I'm going to wrap it up here. So I wanted to know, do you have any parting words for my listeners?
I think it's just keep trusting, whether it's that's your own kind of like inner guidance or trusting that it will get better. Because I know that at my like deepest, darkest moments in life, that was really hard to know that there was an after or that there was light at the end of the tunnel. And so just like trusting in that there will be a shift at some point for the better, no matter how small too. I don't wanna diminish, minimize that some people go through some way more horrific things that I've gone through, even for sure. And so just like being extra attentionate to those little blessings along the way and count them and to keep increasing your trust that there will be an even bigger shift.
That's really hard. That I think that's really good because I think when we think of the light at the end of the tunnel, we think it's going to be like all of a sudden it's there, it's this huge thing. But I think that's really good. Like it's so important to pay attention to the little milestones that you're having to.
Yeah. Yeah, little breadcrumbs along the way.
Yeah.
A bigger thing, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really hard when you're in the midst of it, for sure, to know that there is going to be an end at some point.
I know that for myself, I still have mornings where like I get out of bed and I'm not about to fall over from dizziness, and I'm like, sweet, victory,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Like, and that was true during my rehab, but that's still true today where I'm like, I'm just so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah. Gratitude. That's important too.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Clara. Where is the best place for people to find you if they want to connect with you?
Instagram is a good place. Living with Clarity is the profile. I have a website, claraschroeder.com, and then I'm also on Substack. Clara
Amazing.
Schroeder.
I am going to link all that in the show notes too. So if anybody wants to just easy access, go there and check that out. But this has been such a great conversation, Clara. Thank you so much for coming on and being vulnerable and sharing your story. And I'm glad we got to unpack a few more things for you too.
Yeah, you're really good. Thank you, Tawny. Yeah, it's a real pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you enjoyed our conversation and found value in the stories shared, please consider following us on your preferred podcast platform. Your ratings and reviews make a huge difference. They help us reach more listeners and continue bringing you engaging, insightful content. We appreciate your support and would love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Until next time, keep listening, growing, and sharing.